For the Walmack Double Duel, we're going to start off here with Central DeWitt Sabres versus Dyersville Beckman Blazers. I'm here with Pete Bush, Bob Gallagher. Gentlemen, take it away.
Well, thanks for the intro, Jay. Yeah. I thought this was your show.
We're
we're happy to be out here at Central DeWitt, looking for some good wrestling. This next match should feature two pretty solid teams. They're full up and down the lineup. We're used to seeing a lot of Beckman kids wrestling at state, and we can see an up-and-coming team in the DeWitt Sabres. They took two kids to state that placed 2 years ago, a couple more last year. They're looking to kind of increase that each and every year. They've got more kids out for wrestling here, and they got a full team, so it's a good night.
Yeah.
Bush?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting to have the wrestling season start. It just seems like yesterday we just got done with the state tournament in February, but here we go again. And, I'm just a huge wrestling fan and just a lover of the sport because I think all the qualities that wrestling can give a person for life is just, it's irreplaceable. And I just really get frustrated when I see forfeits from teams because these kids just don't know what they're missing when they don't go out for wrestling.
I think the climate's changed a little bit. You and I talked a little bit about that off air. It's difficult. Wrestling is very difficult, but life is very difficult. And this sport teaches you, as you indicate, all those things that you need to be successful at life. Now, last year, you ended the year as the head coach at Davenport Assumption.
Yes.
Now you've stepped down. Mm-hmm. Are you missing being in the room?
No, I actually don't. It's a young man's game. My shelf life was 12 seasons, and that's good enough. We've already started wrestling here, so we better.
All right. Now it looked like they
52.
started at 145 the last match. This should be 152, although I'm not sure.
This is still Marion versus Dyersville Beckman, so we've got a little bit. But
match over. You're right.
I got you.
Really, guys, I'd like to thank you both for helping us out and doing this. Both of you guys have forgotten more than I know about wrestling, so just by saying yes right there, we've already won tonight as far as a show.
We're happy to be here. As Pete said, he's a fan of wrestling, as am I, as you know. So it's a great opportunity for us to continue to bring attention to the sport of wrestling and to grow the sport, to show people that it's really cool to be part of this special sport. We have a brotherhood that lasts lifetimes, and those qualities that Pete talked about have shaped a lot of our friends and a lot of the good men and now women in our society.
Yeah, absolutely. I truly wasn't a big fan of the women wrestling at the start because I just thought that girls against boys, it just was a no-win situation for the boys. But now that they have girls wrestling girls, I think that's wonderful, and it's actually grown our sport too as well.
It has. You see some colleges picking up women's wrestling, and obviously the United States team has had unparalleled success. So it's catching on, and it is cool to be a wrestler.
Yep.
Pete, Bob, you guys know a lot of people around the state and Iowa High School Athletic Association, Iowa High School Girls Athletic Union. What is the feeling about maybe girls wrestling in high school around here? I mean, North Carolina just adopted a temporary basis for 1 year, which is great for them. I don't know where Illinois is at, but have we even dipped the toes in the water yet that we're going to get close to sanctioning girls wrestling?
Well, I hope so. I'm currently now that I'm not coaching the high school, I'm actually coaching the junior highs, and we have more girls than we do guys in our youth program, and that's exciting to see. Yeah, we really do, and I'm just amazed. Jason Lloyd is basically our girls coach there over at the Rising Knights, but we've got 25 girls that are in there, and I think they plan on wrestling in high school, and hopefully there'll be a girls program when they show up.
That would be nice. You pointed out an interesting issue, the no-win issue, right? And sometimes there's a lot of changes that have to be made to welcome women or girls onto a high school team because there are different showering facilities and locker room facilities, weigh-in facilities, all those things that you kind of take for granted. It's not that big a deal, just show up. That can be a big deal, and those weigh-ins are important because we match people up by weight in this sport. We make it fair, and those are just things that you have to tackle, let alone the different singlet or a different way for them to put their hair up or do those kinds of things. And it looks like area teams have always overcome those obstacles to allow girls the opportunity. And isn't that what high school sports and youth sports is all about? Opportunity to learn something outside the classroom. if you have somebody who learns these skills outside the classroom, they become a better human being.
Absolutely.
Dedication to be successful, no matter the sport, is very important because that's something that you will need to be successful in life.
Wrestling is a great template for life, basically. And if you go through high school and you have a decent coach to apply these principles, so you can actually go out, and when your hand's not getting raised because you're done wrestling, you'll get your hand raised in life, as long as you can apply those principles.
Now, I went through a lot of wrestling and didn't get my hand raised a lot, but I learned from a good coach in Frank Freeman. And unlike the champ over here, an NCAA champ at Iowa, but hopefully I took a couple of qualities with me, and that's why I want to come here and continue to bring attention to this wonderful sport as we watch DeWitt come out and get ready to go, and the Beckman Blazers over here, they're getting ready to go. We're going to have a great duel for you.
Yeah, I like what you pointed out. Coach Bush, he retired from coaching the high school Assumption, and then he got a phone call from me, and he took a good 2 days to go, man, do I really want to do this with this ding dong? But I really do appreciate you calling me back.
That's because you told him I was going to be here. That Bettendorf Assumption rivalry runs deep.
Yeah. I'm starting to break out in a rash right now, to be honest. No, actually,
my son than he ever was with me. I can tell you that.
To be honest to be honest with you guys, we would have never been the team without Bettendorf kicking our butt most every year, and that's what you need. You need you need a rivalry that is strong and keeps you edgy. So
those duels were fantastic.
They really were, and I really
and the same with Bettendorf. We needed you pushing us.
There was a big debt IO to Bettendorf because it always was a big thing, and even in the summer when it was hot, I'm thinking about Bettendorf and things like that, and that was a big motivator for our team. We didn't win as many as we'd like, but still we went off and went to 2A and ended up doing quite well.
How fun was it when we all gathered in the middle of the mats after both Bettendorf and Assumption won team duels after being bitter rivals for those years that shape those teams.
Absolutely.
You were right in the thick of that as a coach.
Yeah.
You have personal relationships, having wrestled with some of the coaches at Bettendorf.
Yep.
Roomed with them, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
Mark Trezino.
How cool was that when we all got together on the middle of the mat there, champions?
It was awesome. It's one of the many moments I'll never forget, but it's kind of funny because I called Trezino just less than a year ago asking for that photo. I mean, I had one, but it was from the paper. And I want a real photo of that because I think that is something that doesn't happen very often, obviously. And especially it's two rivals appreciating each other's talents, and we happen to represent this area of Iowa quite well that year.
Yeah, that was certainly a lot of fun to see my son along with those kids that he worked out with. Those kids from the Davenport Assumption team that he wrestled against are still really good friends.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
at the house at Christmas, and
Yep.
I look forward to seeing some of these kids.
Yep.
A couple of Randoni and the boys are up at Loris.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to see Kurt and
Absolutely.
the rest of the group.
Yep.
Those
So-
men that you helped shape. So
Yeah, it was fun.
congratulations. Those are great men. Thanks
Yeah,
to you.
and
their parents, but you got a good hand in that.
Yeah, thank you. The whole thing is what I'm most proud of. Granted, those championships were nice and everything, but I'm seeing the kind of people that they're becoming from the sport of wrestling, and that warms my heart, honestly. And it's a lot of people come back, years later and say, I finally get what you were doing, what you were saying and everything like that, and because I'm passionate about this sport. I think the world's a better place with wrestlers, and that's just a fact.
Oh, that's a great line. So, Coach, we're fortunate now to be at the WAMAC, this WAMAC meeting, WAMAC conference. You've obviously wrestled against Central DeWitt for many years when you coached against him, and West Delaware when you and West Delaware had some epic duels.
Absolutely.
Not only at the West Delaware Manchester duels, but also up at State. So some of the schools you see here, you've seen before, like I mentioned, Central DeWitt, West Delaware. Did anyone, the 106 pounder from Central DeWitt?
Yeah, he's
Keaton.
Keaton, he's tough. Mm-hmm. He's tough. I remember the first time I ever saw him was last year in the first tournament of the year, and we had a really good 106 pounder in Trent McDonough. And Keaton honestly looks, he doesn't look too brawny or anything. He looked like he was even littler last year. Mm-hmm. So I kind of never really thought much about it. And then he went and whipped our guy pretty good in the first match, and away he went. And now he's currently ranked number 1 in the state. And it's all because I don't know him personally, but I know about the family because I know some DeWitt people, and they can't say nice enough things about him and his dedication. And that dedication is creating a number 1 ranking for him this year.
Yeah, he looks tough, like you said. Ranked number 1 already this year. 6th at state last year, so still at 106 this year. Who else we got it from that we're looking at DeWitt Central, Bob?
Robert Howard, a sophomore at 113. You have ranked at number 2 in your QCA ESPN 93.5 FM top 5 rankings. Mm-hmm. He's a sophomore, 3rd place at districts last year, but hopefully he'll turn the tables. And talking to the DeWitt Central coaches today, they think he's got an opportunity to be a state place winner. So they're real proud of the leaps and bounds of improvement that he put in over the summer. Theo Fox is a senior.
There's someone who talked about put some time in the weight room. I heard nothing but all summer long in the weight room.
Good. His coaches were real high on him. Yes. You've got him ranked number 4 on your QCA ESPN FM top 5 rankings, and you got a handful of others.
Yeah, Theo Fox is the brother of Creighton Fox. Creighton Fox was a good wrestler. He was a heavyweight for DeWitt Central, and that's one thing that wrestling does bring together families. I mean, if there's multiple boys in a family and one wrestles, it just seems like they all follow suit and they all get involved too as well. So it's kind of a family affair.
Well, we're going to see that with Dyersville. They got a Feldman and a Hageman, and we've been wrestling Feldmans and Hagemans for years. So this might be the end of the crew, but I think they both have had a number of boys wrestle.
Well, it's funny how that works. They see the older one get their hand raised and get on top of the podium, and they want to get there just as hard, you know? So, yeah, it's going to be a fun meet here tonight, and I want to thank DeWitt Central for allowing us to come in here and do this. They were open arms. It's one of those things where you couldn't have got a faster yes. The phone call was just that quick with AD Kreider. Yes, what do you need? And let's get it going. And there's nothing better than that to make sure the doors, when they open the doors and let you set up in their gym, wonderful gym, by the way. This is
great facilities out here.
Wonderful facilities. This is not what I remembered when I interviewed for a job here a long time ago.
Things have changed.
Yeah, didn't get the job. That's why they have nice facilities like this now.
Yeah. Kirk Kreider couldn't be a nicer guy. He's wonderful. He was actually the wrestling coach when I first started out, so I got to know Kirk pretty well, and the whole Kreider family with Eugene down in North Scott as well.
Yeah, and we'll have Coach Kreider.
They've all had kids who wrestle as well.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys.
So
again, that's back to your family.
Well, speaking of kids, Danny up at Iowa State, how's that going?
It's going good. It's going good. I'll tell you, he's a different wrestler. In just a little over a year over at Iowa State, Kevin Dresser and the assistants are doing a wonderful job by creating some very, very skilled and not so skilled athletes into really, really good wrestlers. So I'm really impressed. They're getting the most out of their athlete, and that, at least as an AD, that's what you look for coaches. And Kevin's success is proven already, and now he's doing good things at Iowa State, because one thing that Iowa has to hang their hat on, UNI, Iowa State, and Iowa, is the sport of wrestling, because that's kind of our thing. And Kevin's getting us back where Iowa State belongs.
3 great coaches, all 3 Iowa products under Coach Dan Gable, and Kevin Dresser's had great success at Virginia Tech and other places, so it's nice to have him back in Iowa, keeping those homegrown Iowa kids and fighting for them. I mean, he won a couple of recruiting battles with Iowa and or UNI. UNI's got a heck of a Iowa homegrown class, and it will continue to get better at all 3 of those institutions. It makes it fun for us wrestling fans.
Yeah, it really does. I'll tell you, my son with not only wrestling, he's doing wonderful in academics too. They make sure that their athletes are doing as best they can in the classroom, which is ultimately obviously why you're there in the first place. So I couldn't be happier. It's a godsend, and it's been great. And it's really worked for him.
Good.
Well, we got former wrestlers, we got former coaches, we've got wrestling fans. We have to point out how great these officials do. And they're also part of the recipe that makes us so successful here in the state of Iowa is the referees who do this come in week in and week out. The crazy thing is, being such a wrestling state, we need more referees.
Absolutely. I actually officiated for 5 years in the Iowa High School Athletic Association, and Pete has a face that he makes at an official. It's almost the same as the disappointed face he might have made at Danny if he did something stupid at home. You wouldn't have seen it much to his own teammates and wrestlers, but boy, you know when Coach Bush thinks that you blew a call, he's got like this face that he puts on. But I used to come over to Assumption, and thank you for that opportunity, because I got into officiating just to help the sport, kind of like what we're doing today.
And we're on our way.
We need more people to be official. So we've started at 152 pounds. Ty Fangman, a freshman from Dyersville, Beckman, and Sawyer Mercado, a senior from DeWitt Central. We've got a 2-point takedown for Mercado.
Yeah, he hit a front headlock and he went around, grabbed an ankle, and was able to score that too.
You see him trying to peel out a wrist. Lots of newer or more modern style riding on the wrist, the cross wrist, and a lot of new tilts that we've seen. A little bit different wrestling than when we were in school with a half and an arm bar.
Very much so. Very much so. They've
Maybe a cross-face cradle.
They've gotten a little bit more sophisticated. I mean, it's hard to believe.
All you got to do is watch one of these matches. The 125-pounder in Iowa City right now, Spencer's got a plethora of tilts.
Yes, he
from
does.
A cross wrist. So
he
it's
does.
Interesting to see if some of these guys have picked it up. I know Adam Grell. I coached with Adam Grell at Bettendorf for a while. Adam's got an arsenal of tilts and good ways to turn. We'll see if these Sabres have picked up on Adam's teaching. Adam's got a kid wrestling.
No, his nephew.
Oh, sorry,
his nephew. Yeah.
Cale Grell. Yeah, I met his son tonight. His son's only 5. So Cale Grell, a 9th grader, 120-pounder, is Coach Grell's nephew. It'll be interesting to see how he does.
Here we go.
Near wrist and a half.
There it is.
There's that half you were talking about, Bob.
There you go.
Old school half, Nelson.
Yep.
Still relevant today.
Yes,
137 in the first period. Got a Sabre start off with a fall. That's going to be 16 points. That's a way to bat leadoff for DeWitt.
We're going to move to 160 pounds, and at 160 pounds, Dyersville Beckman will send Jackson Feldman, a senior, against Theo Fox, a junior from Central DeWitt. At least that's who we think's going to check in at the head table. Maybe we'll get an announcement here from the HUD table.
Up next at 160 pounds for the Beckman Blazers, Cole Domeyer, and for the Central DeWitt Sabres, Theo Fox.
All right, so Dolmeyer has replaced Feldman.
Physically right now, it looks like Fox just is going to outman the guy. He's very physical, and I'm not sure Dyersville Beckman will be able to deal with the onslaught.
Well, and he's digging out a half. Near wrist.
Trying to get that arm bar.
There it is. Arm bars and halves.
There, got it. There we go. He should go above that elbow. He stayed below the elbow, and that's why he's having a little difficulty. He needs to go above the elbow to flip him over.
Maybe catch the chin on the near side.
Able to get it. He's got to drive those legs. That's what he's doing. Nice. Nice.
Wow, the Sabres on fire with 2 early pins. In 14 matches, it's tough to make up those bonus points.
There's that Theo Fox that we talked about. On the offseason, put the time in the weight room, put the time in the wrestling room, and it paid off.
Yeah, look at that. Quick pin early. Well, that'd be awesome. We were just talking about Kurt Kreider. We're going to get an opportunity to interview him in a little bit. We want to talk a little bit about family and football with Coach Kreider, now athletic director Kreider.
And one thing about wrestling, if you're a serious football player and you don't play basketball and then you don't wrestle, you're not a serious football player. That's the way I look at it. Football and wrestling is a perfect complement to each other.
Especially those folks that work on the line or linebackers.
Yep.
Even halfbacks and fullbacks. You've seen that in Iowa City.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a wrestler, you're going to be recruited above somebody who is not.
Most of the wrestlers at Bettendorf are the leading tacklers on their football team.
Is it Wolfunkel? Yeah, he's a junior. 170-pounder, 35-8 last year. Got 3rd place in districts, so he did not make the trip to state, but he's going to be awfully hungry. That was a nice snap down and go behind by Logan Pitts. We've seen a couple snap downs already in the first 3 matches.
Trying to go for a cradle, and he got it.
Wow.
There we go.
Hits.
They might be betting who can get the fastest spin the way they're
Holy
looking
cow.
tonight.
Well, Logan had success last weekend at the West Delaware tournament, took second. Coaches were saying that was something that they were really excited about, getting second at the tournament. And like we said, that's Evan last year. He was 35-8 last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not an easy fall to get.
No slouch there.
195 pounds for the Beckman Blazers, Owen Grover, and for the Central DeWitt Sabres, Mitch Mahusky.
Owen Grover, I remember him.
He came down from
a,
220.
Yeah, he's been a starter for them for this is his 4th year. He's a tough wrestler.
Yeah, Owen's a senior, and so is Mitch. So we're looking at a couple of seniors here at 195. Let's see if Dyersville can get on the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Hospitality here, getting the water at DeWitt Central, and
There we go.
Nice
That's
little
a
double.
takedown.
And a big cross
Going
face.
right for the crossface.
Now,
Got a,
Nice defense there.
there
to
you
break
go.
the lock and move a hand to the other side of the head.
it's like he was trying to work a cradle on that with the crossface, but there's also a butcher he could throw in there as well. So you got a couple choices when you throw that crossface in.
Kind of nice when you can see those moves work off of one another from the same type of setup, and it takes a little while for kids to get that, but certainly as seniors they should be feeling those kinds of things.
Absolutely, absolutely. He looks like he knows what he's doing on top. And if you become, and that was kind of our signature, was top wrestling at Assumption.
Yes, it was.
And now that the college, for those who may go on to college, it's a 4 count for 4 points. Why you wouldn't spend a great deal of time just being good on top? And I don't mean riding people. I mean putting them on their back and getting exposed, because that's a game changer when it comes to college.
Right.
I know it served my son quite well there.
Yeah.
Dealing with a lot better athletes sometimes.
Well, Danny was long and lanky, and has that great crab ride, able to kind of wait, pull people back, and then as you're the defensive wrestler, you've taught so many combinations off of that, because the first thing the defensive wrestler does is feel uncomfortable in that position. We're not used to that. And your kids, whether they were riding a leg or not, or had a half or not, or had the tight waist or not, had multiple different things to work off of that as you brought a kid back on top of you, which was uncomfortable for the defensive wrestler.
Exactly.
So it's a great way to do it.
Yeah. The whole thing was trying to sell the kids that were doing it, the Assumption kids, that this is not, it looks dangerous, but it's really not if you have a good handle of what you're doing.
That's right. You got to have the tight waist or up underneath the shoulder at least, or you can always bail out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Worst case scenario, you ride the guy out. That's the way we see it.
Yeah.
You know? If you get to be effective.
And your
There's a
comment
cradle right there.
about that college rule change is tremendously important. And at a 5 count, you used to get 3 near fall. Now at a 4 count, you get 4. So you can effectively end a match so much quicker.
Yeah.
You get a takedown and you start turning people, and you put it out of reach.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And somebody gets a takedown and then gets a 4-point near fall, that's tough to come back from, especially if you know what you're doing.
Yep.
So a 6-0 lead is, pretty powerful stuff.
I like that rule change because it does put points on the board, and it forces or encourages more aggressiveness. What do you think about the push-out rule that they have in freestyle? Would that be something that you might like to see? There's lots of talk about bringing that to college wrestling, so that we might try to do away with some of the stalling or that kind of boring sometimes feeling out period on your feet. If you could back a guy out and once they stepped out you get a point for it, that might make it more interesting.
I agree, and also you get one step closer to the freestyle type wrestling, and as we all know, the United States is the only country in the world that has folk style wrestling. We have our own brand, and a lot of people are working very long hours to just perfect their folk style wrestling and not being able to do freestyle until the off season. That negatively affects us as a country to compete in the worldwide stage. So whatever goes closer to freestyle, I'm all for. In fact, when I was in college, 2 things I thought would happen. First, I thought the NCAA would be abolished because I felt like it was very unfair how they treated and really made decisions on kids' lives. And secondly, I thought we'd be doing freestyle by now, and we would have put the folk style, to the side, so we'd be more competitive. That being said, I think folk style is really exciting to watch.
I know it.
If you know what you're doing.
I know it. But we do need to become more competitive on a national scale. We have seen unprecedented success
Absolutely,
recently,
absolutely.
and yet we're still not at the top of the world where we really want to be.
I really believe it's because we're still, dilly-dallying in folk style. But I do love folk style, so it's kind of hard. But if we really want to get serious, we're going to have to, put it to the side and just go freestyle the whole time.
You're starting to see some of the top echelon, the very top echelon, the Jason Nolf type wrestlers do certain moves and act certain ways in folk style matches that you see all the time in freestyle, and you're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
And he's scoring on
Yeah.
it. So maybe that time at the OTC, the Olympic Training Center, and the regional training center there with the Nittany Lions is helpful to some of these guys, like it is in Iowa City or in Ames.
Yep, absolutely. It really, really, really helps to be able to have some of these guys stay around either to get a graduate degree and pursue some international wrestling, and it helps these college kids, being able to partner up with them and learn certain things that they may not have learned otherwise.
That's right. We've got a 6-0 score here. Mitch McCoskey over Owen Grover. I'm sorry.
No, it's vice versa.
It's vice versa, yeah. Usually Green is home, but Green is with the green singlet tonight. Owen Grover, 6. Mitch Mikowski, 1 with an escape, but it looks like Grover's got the takedown, and he does. And he's going to keep him right there to get a couple near fall, trying to catch that near arm. Ooh. Tough to pin. Oh, he did it. A little tough to pin a kid laying on that near shoulder, but he got her done.
Yeah, that's
Tough match by Owen. 6th place at state last year. He's a good wrestler. Returned him to the mat, kept him from bellying out, got his back points, and then went for the fall. Nice match by Owen.
in Dyersville. Beckman is on the board.
There are on the board.
24-6 now. Central DeWitt. Nice job by Grover. As mentioned, he's a qualifier, and he moved down a weight class. Cut from 220 to 195. That's kind of a big cut. Not so hard to go from 13 to 6 sometimes, but 220 to 195, 25 pounds on a man that size has been very disciplined in the offseason. That's for sure.
Receiving a forfeit at 285 is Cole Miller.
Cole Miller. And now we're going to go with what do we got going up
Skip
here?
out at 220. Now we got to go
The
down to 6.
220
So
was the one that cut from 285 down there. That was the kill, not the Cam Lee that we were talking about.
Aha.
Cut away. So what do we have going on here?
we look like we're now at 6-pounders.
This
106
isn't.
pound.
Let's see who they got up at. This isn't.
Reporting at 106 pounds for the Beckman Blazers, Nick Schmidt. And for the
Nick
Central
Schmidt?
DeWitt Sabres, Keaton Zyman.
Here's the Keaton that we talked about, ranked number 1 in the state for the DeWitt Central Sabres.
They are comfortable in that front headlock, aren't
They really are. They do a good job with it too.
Well, there's one of those tilts we talked about. Near wrist tilt. Oh, right.
Love
in
it. I love his
To a
aggressiveness.
Turk. It's really tough for Mr. Schmidt to defend against that. Keaton was very smooth in transitioning from pinning combination to pinning combination.
Rolling those wrists. Here it comes. Armbar
And
series.
Schmidt's trying to work up.
Near
He's doing a
armbar,
good
far
job of
wrist.
defending, but it's hard once you give up that
There
arm.
you
Yep.
go.
Yeah, he's just full
it
steam
is.
ahead.
Good fight from Schmidt here, though.
Yes, very good. There it
That's-
is. And we got a fall in 55 seconds for the state's number 1 ranked wrestler in 2A.
Reporting a fall in 55 seconds, Keaton Zyman, Central DeWitt.
At
Yeah, he was smooth.
113. This is not Robert Howard for DeWitt. Let's see who they have going in here.
Up next at 113 pounds for the Beckman Blazers, Levi Feldman.
Levi Feldman
For the Central DeWitt
for
Sabres, Cole Blossom.
Cole. What is it? Cole Blossom for the Sabres. see here. So
Bossom,
Howard.
B-O-S-S-O-M.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
okay.
some. Yeah, I suspect that's a brother of. He had a brother a couple years ago that wrestled for DeWitt Central.
Oh, Feldman got in a tough position, but really worked hard to get out of it. That's just toughness.
Feldman
Here's
is
where
a
that step-out rule might come in.
Yeah, exactly.
Feldman is a freshman for Dyersville Beckman. Bossom a sophomore for DeWitt Central. I feel like we might see Howard move up a weight class for this duel at maybe 120 and move some things around for the Sabres. So this is good for Boston to get some varsity experience. I mean, he's behind tough kid and Howard.
Watch for Feldman to try to get an underhook and work out of a front snap down. He's been snapped down himself, but he's tried to pass the elbow. His brother was really good out of an underhook. He passes the side pretty good. He's just not scoring. Bossom keeping his position really well in this first period early on. Watch the drag.
DeWitt Central really likes that front headlock.
Yeah, they're comfortable there. And the Beckman kid, Feldman, was trying to do that underarm drag, get out it, and kind of turn the corner. But he's tied that 3 or 4 times, and Boston's done a pretty good job of keeping his position. Bossom's a sophomore, Feldman a freshman, so both plenty of time to perfect their trade.
Four seconds left.
You started taking your kid to tournaments on the weekends. A little
Yeah.
Sunday action?
Yeah.
Sunday take me to church?
Oh, man.
The wrestling religion is hit the household, I see.
That's right. It's a lot of fun. It's I tell you what, it doesn't matter what age. Attitude is everything. And
Absolutely.
We hit a little speed bump last Sunday. He just didn't have it the first match, and you could see it right away. And he got worked for it. But I tell you what, I'll give him credit. He bounced back his next 2 matches, and his attitude changed. And win or lose, as long as he has a good attitude before, during, and after the match, that's all I can ask for. And so he's starting to get it. It's fun to watch him get excited about the little things, the stuff that you don't remember when you started doing when you were young.
Yeah, great Granby started. Now he's around outside the legs, so that he's pretty good with the hips, but he put himself back in danger. Looked like he was going to get one.
Got to get that arm through.
I think he's going to get that. There it is. There's the 2.
So your high school buddy Brian Gallagher has
Yeah.
a little one that started a couple years ago as well. Had the attitude, good. Then didn't like to lose, like we all get a little streak. Took a year off, and he's back.
Good.
So enjoying it, and he won his first tournament. So that also helps with attitude. Winning helps.
Where are they wrestling out in Des Moines? Waukee.
He's
Gotcha.
wrestling out of Waukee. My point is to keep at it, and if they need a little time away, let them have a little time away. There's nothing that can't be learned that young.
Absolutely.
Nothing that can be learned that young that can't be learned when we get to this age. And as you see, Feldman sneak out around and get his reversal. These guys are trading position.
That's the 3rd reversal in this period.
That's good. The bottom guy staying busy, trying to create tough positions for the top. Oh. Ooh. Looks like Green had the leg locked up for a 5 count, although he worked an inside wrist. What do you think of that call, Coach?
Well, these referees are looking for side-to-side work on top, and when you're just covering the hips and grabbing wrists, and your hips are staying stagnant, then they're gonna hit you. So, I think that was a fine call.
I do too. I like to see it because it forces him now to be a little more aggressive on top instead of sitting on an ankle.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Now that he's got the leg, he's going to get the count again. There we go.
See, his work can go into the side. He won't have any issues there. There you go.
When he goes to the side, he's got
he just needs
Bossom in danger.
He needs to suck that right arm. He could have flipped him over. He had the guy on his side.
So it's little fixes for both of these guys.
Very much so. They're
They
just
are.
about there.
Yeah, they look good. It's just getting above that elbow instead of below it.
Yep.
Effort's been great.
Four to two, last period.
Nothing but pins and forfeits rolling through here.
Yeah, this is a rarity.
Yes, it is.
There,
Uh-oh.
he's locked it up. All he's got
But
to
he
do is
doesn't
go
have a
back.
head, so
What's he
he's got-
doing? That
he
he
missed
called
the head.
locked hands.
Yeah,
Huh?
he missed the head.
Did
was
he?
Underneath the head, he was in the armpit.
Okay.
Again, little fixes. He'll come over across the head. So you think they're going to bump Howard up?
It looks like it. It looks like he's warming up. So I tell you what, this is a good match we got between these two.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're moving all over the place, and a couple little corrections. These kids are they're really going to take a big step forward. There, he's got it above the head. Excuse me, above the arm.
And there it is.
Nope. And again.
And the problem is he's got his grip right by his knee. It should be up by his chin.
He's going to swim his way out of this.
And he took him back a
Gotta
little
go
too
around it.
fast for my liking.
Then up there. There's
And
two.
there's a reversal.
These guys two.
Oh,
into
come
the
the Grammy roll, the reversal, and we're counting near fall.
two.
And I don't know if he gave it to him.
Did he give
Two
him?
reversal, two
gave two
near
near.
fall. That's a 4-point move. We're back to the cradle. Now, if he takes it back slower, he'll have more success.
And he's got it. Yeah, like you said,
Bossum's
take it
back
slow,
on the
take
head.
your time.
He's gotta
Be
drive
in the
43
zone.
seconds. Bossum's back on the head. This is how he got out last time.
You give him his referee's already given him his three. Oh!
And there it is.
Three
There's a
near fall.
reversal. Now, he needs near fall in a hurry.
10-5, now 10-7. Bossum trailing, 30 seconds left. Be interesting if they're probably gonna.
He's going to try to turn him.
again. Probably gonna bang him again.
Got 20 seconds. He's going to try to turn him. He's going for that butcher that Coach Bush was talking about earlier from the crossface. He's got to run his. He's in a bad position here. He's got to get a little bit further behind his man to drive through him. That's an exciting match and an exciting finish.
That was a lot of fun.
Good match, gentlemen.
A lot of action. That was a good match.
Winner by a score of 10-7. Levi Feldman.
This is Howard.
All right, this is Howard at 120 here.
Okay.
He's moved up from 113.
Up next at 120 for the Beckman Blazers, Daniel Wall, and for the Central New England Sabres, Robert Howard.
We've got him ranked at QCA ESPN number 2 currently in the
Oh, look
Twin
at
City
that.
area.
He's going for a spladle.
Robert
You
Howard.
gotta love it.
Oh,
Spladle.
my God. Nick Simmons is in the building.
This Plato.
That was sweet. Very nice. Now he's going for the pin. Oh, got the arm
Got to
snuck
keep
out
the
of
arm.
there.
This is where we tell
2-point takedown, 3-point
this is
near
where we
fall.
tell Sonny from Done Right Satellite we need instant replay when we get a Plato like that.
Yeah. Jack wrestled under Nick Simmons at Indiana University, and Nick was well known for his spladle. Oh, my gosh.
Very nice.
Nice tilt. Represented USA in freestyle several times. He was a backup for the American Wrestling League that just took place in Cedar Rapids.
I heard.
Took Jack up to watch a little wrestling up in Cedar Rapids. It was pretty cool. Did you make it?
I know I did not. Actually, to be honest, I would have gone. I forgot about it. I had some buddies that went, and I got upset the next day when they said they went there, and I'm like, gosh, I wish you would have reminded me. But
I'll take you next time. We'll make Danny come meet us.
absolutely, Danny
That'll
would
be
love
fun.
that stuff.
Oh,
He'd
they
love
did.
that stuff.
You know those promoters that put that thing on. So it was
Yeah.
a lot of show at the beginning, but when you're seeing the second and third, or maybe in some cases the first, because Green wrestled.
Yeah.
You know, you saw the best wrestlers in the senior level in the United States.
Absolutely.
So
yep.
they got paid $25,000 after weigh-ins to make weight to wrestle. The winner got $5,000. So it's literally a start to a professional real wrestling league in America. I know
Yeah,
the guy to
yeah,
my
yeah.
right likes that other stuff with his friend Pat Anger, who we all love.
That's
You
what
mean-
I understand.
yeah.
Pat's
Pat, please just be
Pat's
careful.
working that, huh?
Oh, it's close. You mean the SCW Tag Team Champion, Pat Anger? Yeah. Pat's got 2 wrestling. Emmett and Kale are both
Yeah,
wrestling in the
yeah.
Bettner Wrestling Club.
Yeah, I coached Pat in high school. I was frustrated with a lot of kids, but I was more frustrated the day that Pat told me his senior year he wasn't coming out. He could have been a state champ that year. Pat Militich will tell you his biggest regret was not wrestling his senior year. So those are the guys you listen to. Stay out for wrestling.
You really do.
The reason that, and I'll tell you, Pat will tell you, the way he got to the Colts, the way he got to play football at Iowa under Kirk Ferentz, because he was a wrestler.
I agree
Well,
with that.
It's 13-0 right now. He's going to get his 3 near, and that's going to
Yeah,
stop the match.
16.
Hammond came up
There's a tech fall there.
and wrestled really well. Take nothing away from Mr. Wall. A good fight. Just very slick wrestling there by Robert Howard.
In 2 minutes 31 seconds for the Central Flint Sabres, Robert Howard.
Yeah, as a coach, I think all you do is look for effort from these kids because there's going to be sometimes where you're just overmatched, and it doesn't mean you lost if the score doesn't show your way. It's as if you're going to go and do the best you can possibly do, train, and make sure you go 100%. As far as I'm concerned, there's no failure in that, and that's sometimes what you got to look at.
And watch them build from match to match throughout the season, and then pick up in the off season.
100%.
Isn't that what you were looking for?
Absolutely.
Those kids with that kind of character that would continue to work. It's like we do every day at our jobs. You got to get better every day. You got to try to learn something every day, and this is the great teaching ground for that.
Yep, and I tell my kids, you know, what do you?
Geez, here we go.
No, this is Kale Grell. This is the nephew
Did they move
of the
Cale up?
Yeah.
All right, so this is Cale Grell, a freshman who got a takedown, and he went right after near fall. Staying aggressive, just like in everyday life. Things are going well. You keep at
There
it.
we go.
Keep trying.
That's
Keep the pedal to the metal.
Yep. I'm really liking DeWitt Central's aggressiveness tonight. That's exactly what you should be doing. They came to wrestle.
Yeah, send in a quick message. Each and every one of these guys is going straight for. I think Mr. Donovan wanted to wrestle at 132. Unfortunately, he weighed in at 138.
Try to sneak one past him. Oh, we're down to 3 matches, I believe.
All right, let's see. That looks like a Hageman kid to me. All right, they move Peniston up. All right, Pedersen moves up. And again, a Sabre takedown right into an attempt to turn. See him reaching for wrists, trying to control his man's hips.
Is it a clock issue?
No, I don't think we got the points up yet.
Yeah.
That's our
Okay.
nice job by the official checking the score clock at the break in the action to make sure it was correct.
It's always nice to get that before everyone starts yelling clock.
Or score.
Yeah.
Having been in
Score,
both,
score, yeah.
both positions as a coach and as an official.
Scoreboard, scoreboard, scoreboard.
I'm glad I officiated before I started coaching high school wrestling, because then I kept yelling at officials knowing, yeah, trust me, I took it too. You're okay. You'll be fine.
Say right now he's just kind of over his hips. He's not really getting to the side. He's got a nice ride.
Yeah.
He's in trouble now.
Just kind of picked that ankle and turned in.
Absolutely he did, and he was lucky he didn't get back points against him.
I don't know that he's going to play too much on the far side. He's got that near side ankle.
Got locked hands. I thought that. Referee caught it.
Just for a second, but you can't lock those hands on bottom.
Yep. Oh, he stuck the leg in.
Break. All right, so we had locked hands on the top wrestler. So we go back to the center and start fresh.
These two appear to be very evenly matched. He got away with a jump.
Seven seconds, but we do see a cross-face cradle here. So, Pete, you had the pleasure of coaching a whole heck of a lot of state champions. There's a returning state champion at Assumption, Mr. Broderson.
Yep.
Is he going to have the same? Does he get the captain's shirt 2 years in a row? Or how long do you get the captain's shirt? And how long will that shirt last? It's starting to disintegrate now.
I got to tell you, it was the, I believe it was the it was the late 90s, I believe, is when that showed up. And I'm not sure who it's going to go to, but once it's given to a person, they keep it until they're graduated, regardless.
So he's got
Julian,
it again this
I
year.
think Julian's the only one that's had it for 3 years, I believe, and well deserved too. He's a special, not only a special wrestler, a special person.
Yes, he's a good young man.
He's real classy, and
guys had
oh
him
my
on the show?
Lord,
We had him on the show the day after he committed to Iowa State.
See that reversal?
Yes.
We're in trouble here.
yeah, that was.
I
Turn
tell you
your
what,
back there,
I can't.
Mr.
That was we met him on the spot.
Pennison.
He came to the radio station. Tremendous young man.
Yes.
Very well spoken. Mm-hmm. Right away when we were done talking to him, we said, anytime we can have you back on, we'd love to have you. Great kid.
He really is. He really is, and I think it's.
Ambassador for our sport.
Yes.
Yep, and I think it's a good fit being at Iowa State as well. I think that, you know,
That's where
he.
I was headed next because
Yeah.
he's going to be exciting.
Yeah, he is, and he had Iowa after him too, which Iowa's a great program as well. But, you know, he decided Iowa State was probably suited better for him, and I'm really excited and happy for him, and can't wait to see what he can do up there with the Cardinal and Gold.
As you know, it takes a long time to crack into some of those top program lineups, and he's proven over the years that he is a hard worker. Now, he's had a lot of success all years in high school, but to get there, he put in a lot of work as a youngster.
Absolutely.
So I think he has proven he can work hard, and that spot won't be given to him. He's going to have to work hard and probably redshirt for a year.
Yep.
Continue to work on his body, get his grades where they need to be. Not saying that they wouldn't be, but that's a first-year focus.
Yep.
And then find a way into that lineup.
Yeah,
How long did it take you to get in the lineup?
Actually, I was a starter my freshman year, so I was a four-year starter, but
Attaboy.
I was very, very fortunate. I had a good coach.
Yes, you did. But you came in all right. I'm not going to say you didn't have a good coach.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably one of the best ever, huh?
Yeah.
Certainly has the accolades to prove it.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, it was kind of funny because I was, Ed and Lou Bannock were my teammates as well, and Eddie was at 177, I was 190, and then Lou Bannock was at our heavyweight. So for 2 years, I was between them. So I always said that I was the break between the Bannocks. When Eddie got done wrestling, everybody would go to the bathroom and get popcorn during my match and get back in time for Lou's. So, but that's just the kind of teams we had, I remember, one time when I won Big Tens, we had 9 out of 10 champions, from Iowa. So that's
those were the days where everybody had a nickname. You had the Baltimore Butcher, Rico Chipperelli.
Exactly.
You had Ed the Horse Bannock.
Yes.
What was your nickname?
You know what? I didn't have a nickname.
I know, you're the only guy without a nickname. We're out there screaming nicknames and watching you guys.
I know. I don't know. I just wasn't.
Edie was the best thing we
I don't think I was interesting enough to create a nickname, I guess.
Those guys had walkout songs.
Yes, they did. Yeah, I would have picked the Carpenters probably. I'm not sure.
Oh, boy. 7-3. Beckman on top of this one. That's Nick Hageman over Cody Peniston.
But my son Danny, he's not nicknamed, but we named him after Dan Gable, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I mean, that's how important. Gable was like a second father to me. He was wonderful to me as a coach and just as a person.
Pablo Obasa, you probably know Pablo.
He was there when I was there.
Yep. Pablo still, of course, is close to Coach, and we get to see from Pablo Ubasa's Facebook page. So if you want to follow Pablo, you're going to find a lot of Coach Gable-isms, and you're going to find a lot of time with Coach Gable. Not only does Pablo go to Coach's house to work out, but he brings his youth program there and coaches a lot of time in the room with Pablo, just providing wisdom, encouragement, and interesting tidbits. Yep. So to the youth program.
Yep.
Great throw there by Hageman. It's kind of a step over, whip over trip.
Now, looking across the mat at the Dyersville Beckman coaches, got one of them up there, getting a little animated with there, and some coaches do.
Nick Hageman.
When I was in my day coaching, I was always moving around in my seat. Coach Bush, you were always like real calm.
What's that?
When I coached, I was really moving in and grabbing, doing arm bars, and everybody has them.
Yeah.
You've always, every time I saw you, you were always really calm. It's like,
He gets it done in the room.
Yeah.
I was. From the corner, I instruct the kids. I mean, my goal was never to say anything, but I just can't help myself. I was always telling kids, if there was a half there, there's a half, and take your left hip, run up his body, and I was always kind of instructing. I never yelled at the referees a whole lot unless it was obvious. I just didn't do that because, like you said earlier, we need referees, and I just respected each and every one of them that happened to, to be there because they are helping our sport, and plus, I don't think it's a good example for the kids to see the coach trying to win through the intimidation of coaches, of referees, and so I pretty much concentrated on the athlete themselves.
Again, from the front headlock, a saber. Carter Donovan, a freshman, with a go-behind and a 2-point takedown. He's wrestling Mason Rucker from Dyersville Beckman. Mason is a sophomore. I remember a couple times the foot would go. Then Danny started doing the foot. I think he stole that from you. Danny Knight might have stole the foot from you. You tapped the foot when you wanted to get the wrestler's attention.
Yeah.
Because you didn't want to be screaming what to do so that the other wrestler knew what you were telling your guy to do. But once you got a hold of him, there was a little look. Yeah. And there was maybe a nonverbal communication that always happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure these kids they have their opportunities when they compete, and I've tried to be there as much as I could be for them. But obviously, there's times where they're just going to have to do it on their own. And some of these wrestlers were kind of ridiculous about wanting certain coaches in your corner. I can tell you, when I won the NCAAs, Gable was not in my corner once the whole time. I didn't care. I didn't even notice until afterwards. He'd said, I didn't want to be in there on purpose, and I'm like, I didn't even know you weren't there. I just was so focused about wrestling. But these kids I'm not big into superstitions and things like that. You should be able to be ready to go out there on your own, even if nobody's in your corner. But at any rate, it's because it's the hard work that's going to do it, not necessarily the coaches sometimes.
And back to our earlier discussion about what this teaches about life, it's you and you alone. And when you get out there, you've heard people, football players and the like, when they get asked, or basketball players, that's a tough place to play. And the basketball players say, we don't even notice. We hear it before the game and after the game, but we don't notice when we're there because we're zoned into playing. That's the same thing when you get inside the circle. You really do focus on what you're doing, and it's only you. It's a great life lesson.
It is. In this day and age, the parents, coaches, they concentrate so much on the win. And I tell these kids, one of my best wins was a loss. I lost 11-8 as a freshman to the number 2 ranked guy in the country, and I gave it all I had. And I walked away, proud to be able to be within 3 points of a second ranked guy. You just can't just go for the almighty win. You got to take the positives out of the negatives.
Well,
yep.
And
just like you do every day at the office. Sometimes things don't go your way. You got to pull your chin up and keep going.
And figure out why they didn't go your way,
That's right.
too.
Learn from it. And get a coach, get the tape. What do we do wrong?
I say to these kids, what do you learn when you're succeeding? You don't learn anything. All of it is through the difficulties. And if you're going to sit and feel sorry for yourself, you're going to lose that teaching moment.
And like Bobby said, my son started wrestling, and you do see kids in the youth time get upset with a loss. And that's fine to be upset.
That's how you handle it.
I tell them, I had this conversation with at least 3 different individuals on Sunday. I said, I've known state champions, I've known national champions. I've talked with all of them, and they'll never tell me the stories about when they won state. They will tell me more about the losses. Every single time they'll talk, because they take more away from that. And I tell them.
Donovan again with a front headlock go behind.
Yes.
They are comfortable in that front headlock.
And I tell them, yes, you focus on the left column, the win column. That's what you want. But you learn from the right. And if you're not doing that consistently, you're not succeeding in making yourself a better wrestler.
Absolutely.
We might have him there.
I think he does.
Yep. Got to sneak.
He's got plenty of time. He's got 30 seconds. He just got to take his time.
See where the inside shoulder is. Nice cradle.
And he got his 3.
Lost the grip. Going, and you heard the coach yell right to a butcher. That's exactly that second move off of the crossface.
He's got a claw ride there, which is pretty effective. You see that a lot in college.
Yeah, especially on a breakdown here. A high school kid a lot of times is going to get broken down with that easier than maybe a Division I athlete.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the moves that are being done in college that you may not see in high school are no harder than the high school moves. So I don't know why some of these kids just don't watch YouTube and watch the college wrestlers, because these moves are no more difficult than what they're currently doing.
Yeah, you just see a lot more of that cross wrist ride,
Yep.
And a little bit more of a spiral ride. But a lot of that's a ride to look for something else.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely.
You get another point in college wrestling if you're able to hold your opponent down cumulative time for a minute more than he holds you down at the end of the match. So sometimes there is a strategy in the ride,
100%,
as opposed to the pin. But that 4-point thing has really helped us a lot.
Absolutely.
That rule change is you're seeing a lot of guys go to their back.
Absolutely.
It's fun to see.
It is fun. It is fun. I when I was coaching at Assumption, I say we don't, as Assumption wrestlers, we don't ride people. We're looking to turn people. You know, I literally don't show rides. I show what you can do on top to get people to get their back exposed, because that's where the fun lies, is getting back points. The whole object is to pin the guy, and so I want all my guys to pin.
There you go.
Not to tech fall. I want them to pin.
Well, that's where the most team points are.
Yep, that's right. That's
so
right.
It's a lot easier to win championships that way.
Yep. Back in the day, when in high school, when we used to pin our opponent, the cheerleader would come up and they'd give you a pin. It's a safety pin, and then they give you a little kiss on the cheek. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, by how things have changed.
Yeah, I know. I
didn't get many of those, but those were good days.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd wear them on our caps or down the.
Yep.
We had robes at the time.
That's
there at
right.
Bettendorf,
That's
of course,
right.
the
I
black
remember.
robes with the yellow piping and stripes. It was pretty cool.
Yep.
Marshalltown was the other.
They had
were
robes.
The blue and red ones. Yeah.
Yep. They had robes. That's I lost in the state finals my junior year to Mike Mann from Marshalltown.
Did you really? No,
Yep.
there's a wrestling name.
Yep.
It's funny to look back on all those matches and all that history and see how well those wrestlers did in college, how well they're doing as people now. We're blessed in this community to have tons of great folks running great businesses, Realco and all the rest.
I'm with Keaton Zimer, currently ranked #1 by the Predicament, Iowa Wrestle, and our own 93 best in the QCA right now. Keaton, great match out there. You got the fall. How's the season looking so far? I know it's early.
It's looking pretty good. My team and I, we've been practicing hard, and we're expecting to keep improving.
Yeah, it's a good start for a duel in the WAMAC. Outside of Dyersville, Beckman, West Delaware, what's some other strong schools in the WAMAC?
There's almost every school in the WAMAC's pretty tough. You just have to treat each team like their state champions, go out there and wrestle tough.
Absolutely. So last year, let's see, 1 loss, right?
Yep.
And then you win sectionals, you win districts, you go into state, you got 6th there. So you're currently ranked #1, like I said, but you were 106 last year, 106 now. How do you maintain your weight?
Well, I just was over the summer working out hard, and it just never really topped yet. I just kept improving my skill, and it was just flat.
So do you have cheat days, or can you just eat whatever you want and it just stays that way?
I try to eat healthy. During wrestling season, not a lot of junk food, and protein, and just healthy foods.
Great. Where are you guys headed this weekend?
We're headed up to West Delaware to wrestle, and that's a dual tournament.
That's a tough tournament.
Yeah, we're gonna bring our A game and wrestle tough against all the teams there.
Awesome. Keaton, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it. You look good out there. Keep it up. Keep up the good work. Yeah.
We're done with this tournament.
Yeah. So, yeah. Unless you guys want to use it. Yeah, I'll go grab it.
How many JV matches? Oh, are we on?
Yes,
okay.
we're still on, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're still
Okay.
rolling. So we
All
got a couple
righty.
JV kids going after it right now.
Yeah.
You got them on the camera? Yeah. Yeah. I wish I would have caught their names. It's not all about the varsity. Got to have a stable full of youngsters trying to
It's
make
kinda-
their way up. That was a nice.
Yeah, it was a very nice move.
He's going to put him on his head instead of push with the head. This is one of those JV learning moments.
It's just, I'll go there. Hey, he's coming.
How many JV matches?
Huh?
How many JV
I thought there was only one. I didn't know there was. I didn't know there was. They're not even running the clock. Something's going on here.
Okay. Okay.
So this-
I got you.
Do you guys want to take a break and just leave the cameras on when they do their little?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, maybe we can get. You want to do?
We'll leave the camera on for the dance.
Here. So the final score was 56. No, that can't be right.
Yeah, 56
Was it
to 21.
56-21?
Yep.
Holy cow.
Yeah, there were a lot of pins
Sixes
by
everywhere,
DeWitt- yeah,
Coach. One,
DeWitt
two,
Central.
3, 4, 5.
It's going to be with the mics.
Ryan Schlarman, Beckman. Final score of the duel,
right.
Central DeWitt 56, Dyersville Beckman 21.
Yep. Final score: DeWitt 56, Dyersville Beckman 21. It's a good way to start the WAMAC
we on now?
conference duel season. So good win for them. Got to talk to Keaton in the back there. Great kid. Love his attitude. Asked him about his weight. Not really any problems with weight.
No.
That's great. Said he
No.
doesn't even need cheat days. He just maintains his weight. He eats right. So he doesn't. He's doing it the right way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, with 1 hour weigh-ins, now they wrestle 1 hour after weigh-ins. That's changed the complexity of everything. You can't drop 6 or 7, maybe even 8 pounds, put that back into you throughout the day like we used to.
Yes.
And wrestle at 7 o'clock at night after 7 a.m. weigh-in.
Let me talk to you guys about this before we have this in between match thing. The state has changed seating. They've not even changed seating. For the first time, the Iowa State wrestling tournament is going to be seating. Your thoughts, Coach? Bob,
Overdue.
what do you do?
Long overdue, in my opinion. I thought it was ridiculous when you'd have some of the best matches, actually state championship matches, in the second round.
Yeah.
You know, it was absolutely ridiculous. Even when guys would get upset maybe in a district, it could be the first round. And I just don't think that's very fair, and the kids are missing out. And to me, it's really about the kids regardless of anything more. So I think that Iowa's done a nice job of doing the right thing. Way overdue, but they finally got it.
There's always going to be a discrepancy about who got to put the rankings together and are they the right rankings. But giving it the effort is important.
Yeah. Let's put it. And then when we come back after this break, we'll bring in the AD. You guys can catch up. You guys obviously probably coach against Coach Kreider, and like you mentioned earlier, the Kreider family. So we're going to let the AD take over from my spot, and you guys get after it. We're going to do that right when we start off the Marion Sabre duel.
You know I like the mic.
All right, we're back. We're here joined by the athletic director here at DeWitt Central, Kurt Kreider. Kurt, thank you very much for first saying yes to our inaugural broadcast to try to bring some attention to wrestling.
Yeah.
You've been a fan. You've been a wrestler. You've had wrestlers. You got a family full of wrestlers and football players and athletic people.
Yep.
So thank you very much for what you've done, allowing us to be here, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Love it. I mean, it's anything we can do to support this sport and to grow it. I mean, I've been part of this program for a long time now, and it's been pretty special. So to have you guys here and the debut, I didn't realize it was the debut.
Well, God, and you put up 56.
Yeah, I know those guys were a little worried going into it because Beckman had some really quality guys.
They've always got a tough team.
But,
Sure.
They'll do well. They're down in 1A this year, and talking to their coach ahead of time, I think they'll make some noise and get everybody healthy. And Pete knows how that is. You never know. Skin injury, psychology.
Absolutely. We
big one, isn't it?
had a kid who was ranked number 2 in the state. We were done with we were done with our last practice before sectionals. I'd let everybody go, and I'm outside talking to a parent. And next thing you know, the guy was screwing around with our heavyweight and busted his leg, Tristan Finch. And so, you just don't know.
Tough kid. He was a really tough kid.
Yep.
Just it happens that quickly. I know I was talking with Coach Onimus this week about the ups and downs of coaching. You know, I was telling him that I was missing it. Been out of it now for about 8 years. But about that same time, he was telling me about some things going on, and I thought, you kind of forget about those things, all the ups and downs you have to go through as a coach. But overall, it's great working with young kids.
Yeah, so you're telling me Pete's going to get the 7-year itch and start to miss it? He will. He's not missing it yet.
He will. You know, I kind of remember when Pete, I think we squared off down in Clinton his first year. And, and then had quite a few duels over the years and tournaments. And I mean, I love the camaraderie. Bob, you know, we get Frank's in the spring.
You betcha.
That's what it's all about, you know, getting there and spending time with each other. Everybody's competitive, love it, but in the end, it's definitely a family. This sport,
it really is. It really is. I took my lumps with you that first season for sure. You know.
Well, I took advantage of it because you came back later and saved us a few.
But we do have some wrestling going on at this point. Marion is wrestling Central DeWitt in front of us.
160.
And they should have started at 160.
Actually, that doesn't look like Theo Fox, though.
No, it doesn't.
No, it's not. I'm not. I think they bumped the lineup around a little bit.
Yeah.
Honestly, I didn't.
Probably giving some guys an opportunity because there's a lot of forfeits that in the Marion lineup today.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll kind of keep talking just a little bit over that instead of focusing 100% on it while the folks at home can watch the wrestling, and we'll kind of keep you up to date. But you've got a new addition to the family. Let's talk about Landon, your first grandchild.
I tell you what, I was just FaceTiming with them out in the hall, and our kids know that when they get a hold of me, I'm probably going to be in the gym, but I did not expect being a grandparent was going to be so cool. I probably was a little distant as a parent, but I've done a much better job as a grandparent. I didn't think
easier. You just send him back. Hey,
take
this kid Landon from me.
I did not think I'd get attached to that little guy, but it's been awesome, and have had fun traveling to Denver and spending time with him. So I know it's only going to get better.
Well, let's talk about Denver. Your son Casey signed another big deal. He's going to be in Denver for at least this year.
Yep.
He's a long snapper.
This is his third year in Denver. You know, I've told many people that just, you know, at the high school level, middle school level, people start to get a little anxious about how their kids are going to do and playing time and all that stuff. As an AD, you get involved with some of that. And,
the egg and parent calls.
You know, Casey had a nice high school career, but as a young kid, he was average at best. He was not developed. And honestly, got him started long snapping because I wasn't sure if he wasn't going to play a lot, he could probably find a way on the field as a long snapper. Little did I know that he'd take it as far as he has, and done a lot of traveling. The Broncos are on a roll right now. Got 3 games, kind of put themselves in the hunt.
Yeah.
I think by the end of the season, counting the preseason, I will have got 14 of the 20 games. So I've been traveling a little bit, and going to San Francisco this weekend to watch them. Some people think I'm a little nuts but I
No,
hope it
you
lasts
gotta
another
go.
10 years. I was telling Pete that ahead of time.
Yeah, you gotta be there. You know,
Yeah.
it's fleeting, so you better just take it while you can.
Yeah, you know.
Do they
you never
play
know.
Kansas City still again or not?
No, they played
They're
them
done?
twice,
Okay.
lost at home by a touchdown, and actually played them pretty tough in KC. So and that's part of it's been fun too, kind of traveling around and seeing the different stadiums and seeing the different fans. We've been warned about, the Philadelphia fans and the Kansas City fans, but everybody's pretty good. We haven't run into too much trouble.
Good deal.
Well, ride that wave. I know the Grubbs family has a receiver for the Saints. Now they married their daughter
Austin
there,
Carr.
Austin Carr. So they're getting to do some of that, and I get to talk to Steve every once in a while. They're loving it too. So we're real proud of you guys. Keep
Yeah.
it up as a Quad City region. What a great thing to be able to experience.
Yeah,
And as you said this. I'm not judging your kid. You said he was pretty average until high school, and then last couple years blossomed, and I had a boy like that and a girl like that, and that's one of those things that we continually tell people, stick with it, especially in the sport of wrestling where it does sometimes just take a switch that clicks with a lot of hard
Right.
work.
In physical development, as a freshman, he was not a starter on the team, and like other kids, he came home complaining a little bit because I drug him around to the weightlifting and the skills and drills and camps, and he kind of wondered why I wasn't a starter. Well, that's not why you do all those things. You just let it play out, and you'll get your opportunity. And he's had a lot of opportunities since then, and has really taken advantage of them. So those are personal stories. But in this position now, I get to share those with coaches and families who go through the same thing that we all did with our kids. So.
Well, Danny didn't win a state championship his first or second year either.
or third.
I understand, but that's the same point. And I'm judging yours like we both talked about our kids like this.
Yeah.
They kind of came on in high school.
Yeah,
They found
absolutely.
ways those last couple
Absolutely.
years.
To be honest, I remember Casey when he was a freshman, and then I remember when he was a senior, and it's how he morphed, and he really was a good athlete at the end, that's for sure. But it was really through his hard work and really your vision for him really had helped.
Well, when he was an underclassman, I remember him battling with Willie Argo a few times, and that was a tough kid.
Tough
to have
kids,
to go
Yeah,
against.
and I
Yeah,
think
Willie
he
was super
wrestled
talented.
Sam Gervas too, didn't
Gervas,
he? And
yeah.
that was Willie's
Yes.
first cousin.
And those guys were back and forth. Now Casey,
I don't think Sam ever beat Casey. I
No,
don't
but they're
believe.
pretty close.
They were close,
Really
but
close.
I don't think he ever beat him.
yeah.
And
And
Sam got
Casey,
third at state when
Whose brother Jake
after
is
Casey left.
fifth-year senior playing for the Hawkeyes, getting ready for their
doing a great job.
right.
Matter of fact, when Case was in Dallas those first 2 years, and he got cut, or as we say, he got fired by Jerry Jones. 1 year he was back, and he took me on a tour of the new facilities there in Iowa City, and we met the young Gervas kid
Jake,
was
yeah.
working out, and he introduced me to him, and he told me, I think he might have been in his walk-on freshman year, and he said, watch this kid, he's going to be pretty good. And I've kind of been watching that name, and, that kid
Guess who's on the field and is
Yeah.
pretty good.
He looks
Fifth-year
pretty
senior.
good.
Yeah. Great
Casey-
parents, Assumption family.
Yeah, he was going to be our 195-pounder, but he had a torn rotator cuff, and he had to take care of that. So
Yeah.
I just remember him coming and telling me he couldn't wrestle. And obviously he had bigger and better things ahead of him, so I completely understood.
But that's tough. I mean, as a coach, people don't realize you go through all these ups and downs, emotional struggles with the kids. What really makes the sport of wrestling unique, I mean, with football, you have one common philosophy and goal, and this is what we're going to do. Well, with wrestling, I mean, it's a team aspect too, for sure, but there's a lot of individuals' ups and downs. But with that, you go through all the positive stuff too. It's not always the negative.
How much do you think wrestling in high school helped Casey playing football now in the NFL?
Yeah. Well, he would be the first one to tell you that this sport has probably impacted him more than anything else. And it's just the nature of the sport, You got two decisions to make in almost every situation. What are you going to do? You going to fight, or are you going to cave
Fight
in?
or flight.
And as a young kid, he went through all that, but made a decision that he's going to work. And it's a tough sport, physically demanding and psychologically demanding. But as we know, that's what makes it so special. And he's talked to people in interviews. He did a little thing with the predicament over the summer,
Read that.
and and he attributes wrestling. You know, shout out to a guy who spent maybe, I don't know how much time he spent with him, but a conversation that Tommy Mashik, young Tom, had with Casey when he was on the Fargo team made a huge difference in his life. And he was at one of those turning points. And I talked to Tom last week, and every time I talk to him, I thank him for the time he spent. He went around him a lot, but the things that he said made a huge difference to him. So that's some neat stuff.
That is, absolutely.
We've talked a lot about tradition in wrestling, and the Mashik family is one of those traditional families, right? Pops takes care of Don Bosco and makes him the winningest program in Iowa history.
Right.
Comes down, works with your brother down over at North Scott, and Tom's at Louisa Muscatine Jr. Now, I think he's got his dad helping him out there. So you guys, your brother, Eugene, tell us a little bit about the family and this tradition or history of helping young people.
Well, I mean, you talk about the ups and downs. When Coach Neumeister, our coach, left North Scott, it was kind of assumed that my brother would take over as head coach. My brother was here with me for a year in '93. I was kind of hoped that we would stay together for a long time, but he was looking for other opportunities. And then they brought in Dan Mashik to interview. And, I mean, for everybody except for the Kreider family, it was pretty clear-cut who was going to get the job.
Well,
but it was
winningest coach in Iowa history.
But it was, at the time, it was kind of devastating because he wanted to be a head coach. He was ready.
Absolutely. He was ready.
But again, Huge would tell you after he worked through that disappointment, it was one of the best things that ever happened to him, getting the opportunity to learn from a guy like Dan Mashik. And then at some point, he had his opportunity, you know, and he took advantage of it. So it's neat here because we have Andy Cruz, who coached with both my brother and Dan, and some of the philosophies he's brought here were the philosophies they had at North Scott. I never really liked to bump guys around too much in our lineup, but Dan made that an art. And Andy really learned from that and then really coached our staff up on how to take advantage of those matchups. And it's really helped him over the years.
Coach Grau got some time with Dan Knight at Bettendorf. So he's got some technique and some things to bring to the room, a little quirky way of doing things that Knight has. But you've got a heck of a staff of accomplished people who have really done well with young people. They're good to be around.
It's a great staff. You talk about Adam. He's probably the most intense young guy that I've ever coached.
He's a Saber.
Saber. Was a runner-up. He still doesn't like to talk about that championship.
No, and he never will.
We just were a couple weeks ago, and he says he still wishes he could go back and do that. Oh, you don't get to, Adam. But that was good. You're right. He went to spend some time with the Bettendorf program and Dan and learn some stuff that he brought here. We got Don Salyers, former state champion. We had Kirk Azing in our program for a long, long time, Big Ten champion, coach at the University of Illinois. And we had Don and Kirk, long-time volunteer here, Brian Kleinfelder, those guys running our youth club. So it just really has set us up for success. And Matt's a former wrestler here too, Matt Onimus, and has just done a tremendous job, not only working with young guys, but he believes in those philosophies that it's more than just wrestling. We're here to develop young guys. And
don't forget about Randy Stewart, who just won a state championship last year.
I heard
down there in Tennessee.
Yeah, Randy's an old Saber wrestler.
And 78 grad. He was a year ahead of me. Yeah. We went to tournaments together and things like that.
We just inducted him into our Hall of Fame not too long ago. So it's probably waited a little too long. But
he was the head coach at Loras for a good time.
Yes. Yep, it's been great.
Yeah, it's interesting to me. You bring up the molding of young men or people to be good people. It's not always about the wins and losses. And I got the opportunity to sit through that first duel that you had, running up the score with your Sabres, pinning everybody. And we were talking about maybe sometimes the other side of that and how you can find good in that. And Coach Bush was saying, you learn from the losses. You become a better person from the heartache and the adversity, and that's how we become better as human beings. And we bring that every day to work, whether it's an athletic director or a lawyer or a business owner. Those are the things that wrestling teaches.
Well, I talked about, I put a little article together now at the end of each of our sports seasons. I wrote about that in our last one, that I always listen to the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this summer, and I'm always intrigued by the stories of the people that are being inducted. And in all cases, not just some, in every single one of those cases, their stories have something to do with adversity that they've overcome. And again, it's a great story message to give to our young kids and to their parents that it's okay to struggle sometimes. It's good in the long run to have to face adversity, because that's how you develop the skills and tools to learn how to overcome that. And as we know, the things that they have to overcome here in a wrestling mat is minor oftentimes to what we face as adults. But how we deal with that, we start developing those habits right now. So
Yeah.
it's great sport that way too.
Cloaked in a wonderful community like DeWitt with supportive parents and teachers and coaches. Before you get out in the real world and maybe have your own apartment, your own car, your own bills, your own spouse or child, those things that you got to learn it now.
Yes, life's tough.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So a couple years ago, you guys, and as the high school landscape continues to change, you continue to look for ways to improve on what you're doing, ways to have competition that at your level. And you had sparked an idea a while back that you wanted to join the MAC conference. Get out of the WALMAC, nothing wrong with the WALMAC, but you've got family and tradition and all of the connection that DeWitt has to really the greater Quad City community that kind of includes the MAC. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's been something that had been debated for some time. I guess my initial introduction to that was time spending with these guys in the coaching circles, and something would come up from time to time, and it always seemed like people would say, when Burlington gets out, we're going to contact you guys. The logistics make sense. So when Burlington did get out, it was a conversation that we had, and I mean, it still would have to be debated in our community, our staff, our school board would have to make that decision, but we wanted to let the MAC know that there would be some interest, if it were reciprocated on their part. Now, where that's gone, I have not heard a whole lot. I've heard some things on the periphery. So I guess my point of view is one of those things that we love being in the WALMAC right now.
Absolutely.
The WALMAC's a great conference. And when it comes to sport of wrestling, it's great wrestling.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal. It's a great conference and everything athletically speaking. I think it's probably the toughest conference in the state, at least in two-way for sure.
And I mean, that's across the board. The volleyball is second to none. Track, right? Football, right on down the line. So it's a great conference, and the school's size makes sense. The conversation regarding the MAC, I think, probably has a lot to do with logistics.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
And
going right down
actually,
the street to North Scott or into Davenport, where they've got 4.
And actually, people forget that.
And we've got a two-way school.
Yeah,
we got a little brother on Assumption. I mean, a two-way school at Assumption.
Did you say a little brother? Wow.
Well, I think so.
All right.
I've kind of become.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little worried about it.
I've kind of become
I gotta switch these with you.
Okay.
He'll kick my ass quick.
I've kind of become a historian here, and I think sometimes people forget the connections that we have with some of the schools in the MAC. Bettendorf being affiliated with the Yellow. Back when my dad's a Bettendorf grad, my dad and mom are both Bettendorf grads, so they were wrestling DeWitt when my dad started our family into this sport. North Scott was part of the Big Bend for a number of years. PV was. So we had all those connections for a long, long time. And then as those schools migrated to the MAC, we ended up in the Big Bend until that dissolved. And then a good fit. We were fortunate to have the WALMAC pick us up. But that's another thing that's interesting to see the history of it and how the conferences, there's an ebb and flow of schools.
Yeah, exactly. My senior year in high school was the first year of the MAC conference.
Yeah.
My junior year was the Metro Conference, which had Rock Island, Moline, East Moline, us, Assumption, and then the Davenport schools.
And we have had some perspective. I know Scott Campbell writes for the North Scott Press, has wrote an article about that when I was an 8th grader is when North Scott in 1978 joined the MAC. So the discussions and debates that we're having in our community, I've listened to back in 1978. And my brother reminded me that my dad sat us down and told us that joining the MAC conference in wrestling individuals or bigger schools was not going to be a built-in excuse for us if we weren't successful. So we better get rid of that one right now. My dad was a pretty quiet guy, but when he said something, you better pay attention. Good stuff.
Well, you raised some good kids. We sure enjoy being around you and your brother. Great fellowship and great brotherhood in this wonderful sport.
Yep.
Looks like your Sabres are wrestling pretty well here again. Taking it to Marion.
This is a good sophomore for us. He was a two-way sophomore.
Wow.
Two-way starter for us in football team. Probably I think his passion is football, but we got him involved with wrestling a few years ago.
Cole Miller.
Cole
That's
Miller.
who you're talking about, I think, yeah.
And it's been really good for him, the hand fighting and balance part of it, making him a better football player. And
especially a lineman, huh?
I said earlier, and tell me what your thoughts are, if a football player isn't playing basketball and yet he doesn't go out for wrestling, he's not a serious football player.
No, you got that exactly right.
I really believe that.
It's hard to convince people.
I think college coaches think that too. At least that's what our folks in Iowa City has told us point blank.
Well, Coach Ferentz, he lives by that philosophy.
I think Belichick likes him, like those wrestlers too.
Heck yeah. Where do you think you got it?
And when you talk to their coaches and they're out recruiting, our coach is out of the building, our head coach is out of the building, so I've taken on a lot of that and have enjoyed doing it over the years in football. But when you talk to those guys, they mean it. They want the kid, and they pay a lot of attention to kids who are wrestlers.
Yep. I say to all the incoming freshmen at Assumption, when the day before our first practice, I say, no matter what sport you've played, and no matter what your definition of hard work is, tomorrow, after tomorrow's day, your definition of hard work will be completely different.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're never ready for this.
No,
this
you're not.
sport.
You're not. Not when you're going from grade school to high school.
No. So that brings up a good point, Pete. How has the transition gone for you?
Oh, I love it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I still stay involved with the kids program. I'm going there Mondays and Wednesdays and doing technique for the Rising Knights.
Hudson.
So I get my fill of it. But but they're wrestling right now against West and North, and I'm up here, and I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a grind.
It is. It's a grind. My shelf life was 12 years, not another year. Not another year.
Well, you got to be wired just a little bit differently, I guess, to be a wrestling coach. And you've seen this too. The thing for our coaches today that's changed so much is when we first got in the business, you coached during the season, and when the season was over, the strength and conditioning, speed and agility, the freestyle, that stuff existed. I remember going and spending time with Frank. He was one of the few guys that opened up the room. Yeah. But it's not like it is today.
He didn't coach. He sat there and he didn't know freestyle turns. Yeah. But every once in a while we'd have somebody come in. But even if you were in there shooting singles and doubles all the time.
And getting to wrestle against people from other schools. And that's how I got to know the Belts boys. And I tell you what, Dave, I know Gene and Dave are pretty tough kids.
On and off the mat, by the way.
So, but today it's changed so much in all sports, not just wrestling, but it is a year-round commitment, and there's not necessarily an off-season.
Yeah.
So it's important in my position now to talk to our young coaches about finding balance in their life. They have to. Our families grow up around it, and they understand they're part of it. If you're going to do it for a long time and be successful, but our coaches also have to understand you have to find balance, or it'll take you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it doesn't look like we had a takedown by either wrestler here at heavyweight, and we're now in the second period. Miller and English, the junior. I'm sorry, I got to flip the page here. That is Logan Handgartner from Marion. Logan Handgartner with an escape, and he leads 1-0. 20 seconds left here in the second period. an attempt at a headlock here. And again, this is what we were talking about in terms of what balance and positioning can be learned. In that case, you know, an attempt at a headlock and a slip like that, that's not something that you should expect Cole's going to come back and do more than one other time, because that's something that can be that type of positioning where that elbow has to be, how tight that head needs, where you need to be on the tricep. Those are teachable moments.
Right. Yeah, and he's pretty raw. He, you know, doesn't have a lot of experience in the sport, but like this position right here, talking about just some
explosion,
basic fundamental positioning and explosiveness, right? And basically, it's a mentality. What are you going to do? Are you going to land your belly, or are you going to, you know, get the heck off the mat, get your head off the mat, and get moving?
Wow.
Did a nice job getting out of that
Turk.
Turk.
A nice hand Turk there. Not something you see from a heavyweight. A lot of three-time place winners will know how to do that, but maybe not a heavyweight.
Yeah, that's
junior.
true. I do feel, though, if Cole sticks it out, he'll, you know, he'll end up being a pretty good heavyweight.
Yep.
I hope he does, because he'll be, you know, it'll only help his football as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and you know, the thing is, he's got to stick with it. You got to develop the right mentality.
Well, he certainly doesn't look to be quitting on us.
I saw him getting warmed up. He was pretty fired up when he was going out there.
With that escape, now we need a takedown to tie it up here. So, Handgartner with a 2-point lead. We've got a minute left. Cole Miller looking for, he's got this snap down going, but he really was looking for an underhook on his right side earlier. He's going to have to attack the score here. Back to the head he goes.
I'm kind of surprised he doesn't go to a front headlock. Everybody's hitting front headlocks for the Sabres.
Are really comfortable in that front headlock position. One of your coaches has got to be in there a lot, because each one at all the different weight classes felt really good in a snap down front headlock, go behind.
Yeah, they do a good job of just working basic fundamentals. I mean, they know all those goofy trick moves too, but we all know when push comes to shove,
20 seconds, he's digging two underhooks.
Yeah, yep, you're right. You're right. You know what's beautiful? What's beautiful about the front headlock is you don't have to be quick. You don't necessarily have to be strong. You just have to have positioning.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that he probably should do here a little bit is he's pulling, but he's not pushing and getting that kid to drive back on him.
He is trying right to the end, though, so that's
working
exactly what we've been talking about.
He'll learn.
Yeah.
Winner by a score of 3-1, Logan Handgartner.
And I like to see that too.
Yeah.
You know, he's a little
It's all right to
fired
be a
up
little
afterwards.
frustrated,
Yeah,
right?
that's okay.
You know, if you're frustrated yourself, you're going to have some drive to get better.
Yeah. Yep.
How can I get better, Coach? What do I got to do next time? He's getting some right now. Constructive, calm, reliable. This is how we're going to get you there. And a nice conversation. Very well done, Coach. No yelling and screaming about a loss. And they're talking to him right now about a little bit of positioning.
Well,
Coach Grell.
As you guys know, Pete's experienced many times, those talks, the timing of those talks are critical too, because
They really are.
This may not be doing a whole lot right now. But.
We probably learned as we became more experienced that maybe waiting for those conversations a little bit is better.
That's exactly right. And it's through trial and error, but the fact of the matter is I just remember as an athlete, and if a coach talked to me, I don't care who they were, I was just trying to breathe.
Yeah.
I never listened to any. I mean, I just zoned out.
Coach.
Exactly.
Yep.
And there's two things to that too, Kurt. One is I'm not going to say anything I'm going to regret as a coach, you know, because sometimes you're pretty heated. So I always wait an hour or two, and then I would talk to them. But I would put notes in my phone so I wouldn't forget.
Well, the nice thing now is we've got the videotapes. Back when we were wrestling in high school, we were forced to go and tape record on an audio tape how we thought the match went, so Coach could listen to that, kind of jog his memory, and then talk us through some of those things. Now we've got, you know, we can watch our video fast, slow motion, and you can say, you see why I'm talking? Your arm doesn't go here, it goes here. This is a fulcrum point. This is where the, you know, all of these little fixes that make big gains.
Well, we go back. Probably a lot of people wouldn't know what a 16 millimeter film is either.
Reel to reel, baby.
My dad was a master of that.
Click.
We just moved from our house to our condo, and I've got just a whole box of 16 millimeter.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I going to do with this?
great
I tried to
stuff.
throw it out. My wife wouldn't let me.
That's great stuff.
Yeah. It'll go on a DVD eventually or something.
I was hoping we get to see, some of our young guys who are doing real well,
Good.
that are ranked. We saw them earlier in that first meet.
Yeah,
but-
we did.
Yeah.
Keaton looked good, and they bumped up Keaton. Keaton was your 103-pounder that wrestled,
And the Howard kid.
and the Robert Howard kid, they bumped him up as well. So is it Zemet or Zymet?
Zymet.
Zymet went from 6 to 13, and then Robert Howard went from 13 to 20, and they both looked really good.
Yeah. Well, and this is a good young guy, too. This Carter Donovan, the dad.
Yeah, Keaton's got some nice techniques.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Pretty good, pretty successful wrestler in, I think, South Dakota.
Really? Donovan's came in from South Dakota?
Yeah.
Good.
He had an older brother that wrestled. I think he's coaching at maybe City High right now.
Oh, wow.
Did well. So, that's another part of it, too. It's a family sport. And
Yeah, it is.
typically you see those brothers and fathers,
Yeah.
the generational. Good.
2 of my 3 daughters were stat girls
Stat
for
girls.
me, so,
Well, that's a whole nother world, too.
Yeah.
They get
yeah.
to see and hear more than they want to sometimes.
You're so right. You're so right.
My daughter did the same thing. While Jack was wrestling, she was only a year behind him in school, so she was always there helping out.
Yep. It
Videotaping
simplifies
it.
things when that happens.
Yeah, it's nice when it's a daughter, too, because she's probably heard all those things that the other kids hear that you suggest, because she's been around the brother and the dad wrestler.
So I want to make a shout out to Coach Freeman while we were talking about him before.
Yeah.
I don't know if he probably doesn't get on Facebook too
Well,
much.
I'll take it over and show it to him. Danny Knight's probably still home. He's banged up with his neck injury, and I know, we shout out to Danny, and I know you guys love him, and he's part of the brotherhood. So is Coach Frank, and Frank's hanging in there. We get to see him every once in a while. We'll do a home meet at Bettendorf, and we do an alumni event afterwards. Last year we had it in the back of Governor's, and you can go onto the Bettendorf Wrestling page, and you can see speeches by all of his former wrestlers. We sat there for a couple hours listening to stories
bet
about
that's
Frank.
incredible.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Except I don't have any good ones other than him getting so pissed at me.
My wife and I sat down at Governor's, been a couple years ago.
Cervantes and those guys were in town. It was cool.
And Frank and his wife were in there, and
Sally?
they stopped by just to say hi, and what a great thing it was. Then they said, well, we're just going to sit down here and eat with you. And I said, sure. And
It's awesome.
my wife had never been around Frank too much. And, man, the stories he told, we had the best time. And she had a better appreciation for Frank Freeman after the
Yeah, I believe it.
I can see him just sitting down and saying, well, I think we'll just sit here and join you. Sal, why don't you get yourself a chair over there? That's a total Frank move.
We used to, in high school, when we'd qualify for state, we'd go to Bettendorf and train with them, and Frank was the coach. And this is God's honest truth. It's Monday, and the hardest practice I had all season was the Monday of state. He was just, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have lasted over at that program. Yeah. He just whipped us good, and I'm like.
Till you got to Iowa. You learned some of that.
Yes, that's true. It's a little different up there.
We used to, back when Coach Honimus was wrestling, Coach Grell, we would go over and spend a day with Coach Rosenthal over at Moline while they were training for state. And I'll tell you what, he ran a pretty tough practice over there, too.
Yeah.
It was a real eye-opener for some of our kids.
Yeah, Todd's a good man, athletic director, and then retired.
Now retired.
Maybe 2 years ago.
Yep. Loving life.
Loving life, hanging out with his grandkids. He gets over to the Frank's event in the spring.
Played a little rugby with Todd.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, he's probably a little better wrestler than he was rugby player.
Well, he's about, 5'4", and still 135 pounds.
He was tough-nosed, and he enjoyed the socials,
in good
too.
shape. Every time I see him, he's jogging or lifting or biking.
Yeah, he's a sports nut.
So, 7-0 here, Marion. So we're going to see if Carter can come back against Braden Geringer. Nice shot. Quick finish.
Where is DeWitt Central this weekend? What tournament?
We had been going to Sterling tournament for years, but the guys wanted to get in a different tournament. They were going to West Dubuque.
Oh, okay.
It's a dual tournament,
That's a good
and we were
tournament.
able to have our JV there at the same time. So,
Oh, nice.
It's worked
Lots
out
of matches
well.
that way. Those dual tournaments are very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yep.
Because even if you're, for instance, one of the new kids on the block and don't get a nice seat at the seating meeting,
Yeah.
and you run into the buzzsaw first round and maybe another one in the second, you sit there all day with 2 losses,
Right.
not getting any better. In a dual tournament, you continue to get on the mat, you continue to elevate your ability.
Yep.
Well,
And
you guys know
WD
that.
they've always got tough teams.
Oh, and lots of kids.
Oh.
That staff does a tremendous job.
They do, and lots of the staff have kids on the team or brothers on the team. They're
Yes.
cousins. It's just a
Yeah, Coach
great wrestling community.
Coach Cleary's really done a good job with that. But
Great guy.
His predecessor, Tom Danner, is one of my role models in coaching, and before him, Tom Kilberg. You know, it's just so quite a tradition there.
You pick good role models. Those are really good men who did coach a lot of victorious wrestlers, but also coached a lot of good men.
Yes. Yeah.
In it for the right reasons. We're looking at, we're at 145. Austin Fritz. And
They probably just have 2 matches left, I think. This probably
Ethan
started
McCauley.
at 60, I would think.
Yeah,
this
they've
duel.
got
Yep,
this
yep.
and another match,
Yep.
and I think that's it.
Well, this is a great thing. This is your debut. I've told Jay I was been listening a little bit when I've been on the road around noon to the broadcast. I know you've been part of it.
I've been on it a couple of times. Have you been on? If they got you on Don't Hassle, We're Local, you're going to have to
No.
go on, go to the studio.
Oh,
They'll
okay.
set you up. I was one of the ones that went on only when it was Facebook and whatever they've got going on YouTube Live. We did them at Pints.
Yeah.
And now they're at the studio and doing great things. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I said I listen to ESPN radio a lot.
Me
but,
too.
In the national stuff, but it was so nice when I first heard this that we have a little taste of what's going on locally too. I mean, it's important for us to
Yeah.
hear that. And
Troy and Serge, Jay, they're awesome.
doing a great job. Although I got on Wednesday, I was driving home from a meeting and got on, and I didn't hear what the topic was, but I could not figure out what in the world they were talking about with all these nicknames.
Probably a Troy topic. That's what it was. Or Serge's not paying attention while he's working the big board. You're right. We hadn't had a local show, and as long as I've been listening to ESPN radio or the other one, the AM dial. So
I think
this
way
is great.
back, maybe Jim Albrecht had something years and years ago. I don't know what it would have been, but it's been a long time.
Hopefully, we'll get behind it. People listen to it.
Yeah,
and
that's good stuff.
Get some sponsorships going so these guys can continue to work on this. They also have a high school sports focus, and that's why we're here.
Yeah, right.
They took the show on the road and went up to the Unidome and for the Bulldog
Oh, you
game.
did?
Yeah, they did a live remote from a restaurant there, and the place was packed full of Bulldogs, rented out. And they just kept having dads of the kids on and moms and some of the folks who had coached the kids in the past. And I got to talk about some of those kids that Jack grew up with. And, you know, it was great. So they've done a real good job of putting a focus on student athletes here, which we haven't had. You know, around the Des Moines area and the CIML, you see this kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
And they've done a really good job up in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, Waverly. We hadn't been able to get that done, and thank God you let us come here. We're getting some pushback from some of the MAC coach, athletic directors, really. So this is a great opportunity to showcase what we're about and let these kids be seen. This is the world's oldest and most difficult sport. Let them get on a TV show for crying out loud.
We had talked a little bit about this in our AD meetings, 4 or 5 years ago, because the trend was going towards live streaming your games, and you know, the debate was, is it going to hurt your gait, that sort of thing, and what we found out, we streamed our events for quite some time, But what we found out is it doesn't affect your grades very much.
No,
You know,
if
but,
at all.
But for the grandparent that lives out of state who can't get here to watch this game, what a great thing.
Absolutely.
Or for the alumni who might be in Chicago or Minneapolis,
Yeah.
St. Louis, or, we've got friends in Montana and Oregon who would be watching Bettendorf.
Yeah.
The kids I wrestled with that are out there hunting and fishing, and that's what they always wanted to do. They're happier than heck. They're school teachers and wrestling coaches. They want to see what Bettendorf looks like.
Yeah.
And they're not going to fly in for a dual meet, for crying out loud.
No, and there's enough people who like to come to live events, so we found out it really hasn't hurt our gate at all.
Good.
So it's been good.
Good to know. Well, there's nothing better than being here, that's for sure. Get to watch this live. But if you can't, now we've got an outlet. And I really appreciate you helping us out.
I was going to mention, I think our officials have done a pretty nice job.
Yeah, they've done a nice
They
job.
have. And in fact, we've been telling the crowd, if you're interested in officiating, go to the Iowa High School Athletic Association webpage, filled out the forms, and get your officials certification. We'd love to have some more wrestling officials. If you wrestled in high school, you got a job, you really aren't connected with wrestling anymore, come on back and help us out. The world's oldest and greatest sport needs some new officials. We have a statewide shortage of officials, so please, if you have any interest at all, they can work a couple nights a week. I think for a dual meet, Kurt, what's an official meet make for a night like tonight? Is this a $60 night?
A little more than 60, but
Then on a weekend, what are they, 120 for a Saturday?
Probably about 120 to 140.
Yeah.
Saturday. I mean, it's you can make some decent money. But,
Absolutely.
Rick was telling me here, Mr. Helmerick, that they are losing after this year. They're losing some quality officials, and there's not enough young guys getting in. Mr. McLaughlin down at the end, I think he's a little newer to this area. But I think, for a young, I don't know how young he is, but for a new official, I think he's done a nice job.
Oh, they've both done a real nice job. Yeah. The officials are always doing a nice job if you don't know they're here.
Yeah,
and there hasn't been controversy. There haven't been coaches upset or parents or people upset. They've really done a nice job. Their job is to make sure that the points are scored right and all of the combatants are safe, and then get out of the way.
Yeah.
Let the wrestlers wrestle.
Yep.
And they've done a great job.
It's been a nice night. I guess the only thing that we kind of miss is the single duels where you have the spot. We'll wrestle sometimes up in our old high school gym where we get the spotlight out and one mat.
Yeah.
And just that really quaint atmosphere. It gets loud. Double duels aren't as conducive to that. But the trade-off is you get to bring in another team. You get more matches.
Right,
You're not here till midnight. So it's good, especially this time of year. It's good to get as many matches in as you can.
Absolutely. A decent crowd here, really.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
nice crowd. It's another football player for us, junior Ethan McCauley. Like to see these guys wrestling too.
Ethan's tall. They're both pretty tall.
Yeah.
Ethan's got him by half a head there. In deep on a single, head in the inside. Let's see if he can score with it. He trails 4-1. In the third period here, 20 seconds left. He's going to need a little more than a takedown, but 2 takedowns would do it.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. I mean, he's got to get his head and hips in a little better position, but I like to see him going after that instead of just trying to coast through the end of the match.
Exactly. They're going to take a look at the clock. I don't think the operator got it started on time. But the nice thing is, Ethan's, as you said, continuing to attack.
Yeah.
Coaches get a hold of a tape, talk to Ethan. By Saturday, he's going to have a little bit better angle when he takes that shot, and he's going to know not to stay underneath. He'll get going.
Yeah, you were saying earlier, and that is a great tool to use the video. Video doesn't lie, and you can really get a lot out of.
We've got gals right here in front of us that are taking the video, and it's pretty easy to operate those cameras now or put them on iPads, and you get an opportunity to look through them with a coach who can talk about technique and positioning.
Well, everybody's using Huddle now, and Huddle makes things significantly easier.
It does. But then again, even though it's tape delayed, if there was ever a concern about the streaming for that purpose, like they're going to see what we have, it's up on Huddle anyway.
Yes, right.
Everybody's got it.
Yep.
And if they really, back in the day when I was coaching at Marquette High in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, we didn't have Huddle, but when you knew that that key wrestler that we're going to have to beat at districts to get the state at heavyweight or 52 or whatever,
yes.
you send Dad to that conference tournament and you get as much tape as you can and figure it out.
Right.
It's just what we did.
Yep.
And that's not illegal or wrong or unethical. You've got to find a way to beat your beat your opponent. And now it's out there. So it's out there for everybody. Even playing field. 2 body locks. Somebody was going to get tossed there, and they stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of disappointed they stopped it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I kind of want to see some of those throws.
That's right.
Huh?
Like to see some of those throws.
Yeah, exactly. Get him back here. Not as much throwing as there used to be, is there?
Well, I think we put Danny and Jackson in a Greco-Roman match. They wouldn't score a point in 4 days. 4 days they would be watching those kids wrestle.
That's probably true.
Unless it was a snap down. They both have a snap down.
Yeah, there you go.
Behind.
Yeah, exactly.
I loved watching those 2 guys when they were Greco and at the same time at tournaments. I'm like, wow, your dads were terrible at this.
Yeah.
We didn't teach you anything.
Yep.
Well, Pete, did you wrestle with Mike Deanna?
Mike Deanna?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, my freshman year. Actually, no, my sophomore year, he was our 67-pounder.
And is he still involved in wrestling?
He's in Ohio, I believe, and yeah, he is. He's helping out. He's not a head coach or anything like that.
His name comes up from time to time because I think trading some of these classic shoes have become a big deal. And I had a couple pair of those old suede Deannas for some
is that
time, and
right?
I wish I
Really?
still had them.
Oh my!
I can make a mint off those on the
big
internet.
time.
Right?
You're right.
Remember going to Fargo and taking the kids, and they're all selling the singlets and the shoes and all that stuff. We walked through that little alley of all those kids selling stuff, and I swear to God, each one of our kids was picking out stuff they wanted.
It was amazing.
And you keep thinking, you just keep winning. You get on the podium, and I'll buy you something on the way out.
Yeah, exactly.
Knowing that when they got done with the podium match, none of those kids were there.
Absolutely.
Because they were done early. They were selling stuff, and they were done early and gone.
Max Thompson from UNI, he was a master negotiator. He was he knew a good deal, and he'd get a good deal.
What great times our kids had getting on those buses together, though. Eugene's kid and Jack were about the same age, and they got to go down a couple times. I would hang out. We went to duels, in Tulsa together. So sitting in the top row with Eugene, hanging out, building those friendships, and those kids had so much fun. Even though that's kind of a terrible bus ride to go to. And that
Which one was with
Fargo.
Jack? Was that Colin or Justin?
It was Eugene. It was.
Probably Colin.
Colin was a year older than Jack, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Here comes another Spladle from a different team.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Exactly. Uh-oh. He's got something now.
But those kids love that. And that's another reason to be in this sport. The bus ride, the camaraderie, the teammates. Lifelong friends with the guys I wrestled with in high school.
He probably told a few stories, I'm sure. On,
A couple of them, I'm sure.
He's kind of a helicopter parent, though, isn't he?
Who's that, me?
My brother.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We sat in the back and had a great time. He would tell me,
funny.
be quiet, let the kid wrestle. He can't hear you. I go, yes, I can. Yeah, that's all about me wanting to tell him what to do and not him about wanting to know. He knew what to do. So we're 4-2 here in the second period.
Yep. The last match of the night.
Marion winning this one by a 4-2 score, as I mentioned. Both these kids continue to fight. That has been the theme tonight. Whether they're up or down,
faces.
14 points. Every team we've seen, those kids are fighting. Nobody's given up.
Yep.
Even though he might have gotten turned. We've seen a lot of pins. But every time, they fought it till the end. That's, again,
That's good to see.
it is good to see. You don't always see that in young people today. Yep, see, he's still fighting. He just got his shoulders down at the same time.
Well, I appreciate, again, you guys coming
Thanks
down.
for having
and
us.
doing this.
Thanks for having us.
Appreciate you having us.
Appreciate
And I always enjoy, especially talking to you guys, too, instead of just in the spring.
it. Yeah,
we
that's
got to get together more
But
often.
we will.
Conversation's
We will
a
in
little
spring.
different.
Yeah.
58, 57, 18. That's over 50 in two of them. The Sabres are for real.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, it's always a process. They're young, but they're heading the right direction.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, good leadership.
Some good
I think you
stuff
do.
out there.
I like hanging out with your coach staff. These are bright guys who care a lot and are here for the right reasons. So
Yep. Hey,
I've always
thanks-
been impressed with the Beckman staff, and I don't know much about Marion right now, but it's good
guys.
stuff. Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
thanks again, guys.
You
God
bet.
bless you.
Kurt.
Happy holidays.
You too.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I can say Merry Christmas too.
Yeah, okay, I did it.
I'm Methodist, you're Catholic. But I married a dang Catholic in
Don't wanna
Assumption,
offend
girl. You know how
anybody.
that goes?
Yeah, exactly.
See ya.
Exactly. See you
I
later.
feel like I'm halfway in the family.
Boys doing? Yours is done now.
No, he's a senior. 5th year at Iowa State. He's doing great.
All right. Well, what'd you think?
I thought it was awesome.
I thought it was great. So,
Anytime you sit me down to talk wrestling, I'm going to talk
I
wrestling,
know.
microphone or not.
all right. So that's going to do it here. Thank you so much for Central DeWitt for having us. I mean, our first time doing this, I thought it went well.
Yeah.
You guys were great.
We can't stop Kreider. You know,
No,
I only hope to contain it.
I just sat there and smiled over that. I was watching it on Facebook, just smiling, just hearing you guys, and it just opens my eyes so many more times that I want to get coaches like you guys together and share more stories like this.
Let's do it.
So,
hey, great job.
yeah.
The officials tonight, great job.
Yeah.
We're talking about the need for officials,
Officials out
and
there.
how they get, yeah. So if you've ever wrestled, you want to help us in this sport, the world's oldest and greatest sport, please do so.
Good job.
Come be an official. I've done it. Put in your time.
All right.
Give us 5 years.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're looking forward to maybe doing this again. I know we've got some people out there in the Quad City area that are, already messaging some people. Where can you do this? Hit us up at QC Hassel. You can email us at qchassel@gmail.com. Facebook message us. Twitter. And listen to us every day at ESPN 93.5. I appreciate the kind words you said about our radio show.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming out and doing this. And
Town Square Media?
Yeah,
Noon to 2?
Noon to 2, and ESPN 93.5. And we're also on Facebook Live,
Yep.
YouTube Live, on the app, all that other stuff. But thank you so much, Bob.
Like
and
the page, and you'll see it pop up when they go online every day. And it's
Absolutely.
always a great talk. Just like this, very comfortable format. Guys do an awesome job.
Yeah, I hope we get to do it again. Thanks very much. Coach Bush, thank you very much.
You bet. Thank you so much. This is great, Jay. I think this is great what you're doing, and I hope people start listening in and you're getting some good momentum going.
Perfect. All right, thank you very much. See you guys later.
This was a Town Square Media KJOC 93.5 production.